So it is my pleasure to present my longtime dear friend, Tricia Dietrich. The title of her talk is Finding Faith Through Creative Expression.
She's still on my laptop today, so. Well, hello. How is everybody? It's good to see your faces. Some of you I haven't seen in a long time. Thank you for coming. And some of you I'm just meeting for the first time. So I want to thank Lisa Wagoda and Deborah Lee for inviting me into this space. I'm Tricia Dietrich, and I'm a certified intentional creativity teacher and coach. I'm an artist and many other things. And I love that I am I did not know that I was going to be following a story that was read to children. I think that's so fitting for this talk today. So I'm just reveling in this day and how it's all falling together. I'm here to tell you about finding faith through creative expression. And the way that I'm going to tell you this is by telling you my story, because I feel like story is one of the most powerful teaching methods that we have. But before I dive into my story, I want to ask you 3 questions. What is your definition of faith? So just take a moment. You might want to even close your eyes and think about what your definition of faith is for you. And I'm going to move on to the next question. What is your definition of creative expression? So do the same. You might want to close your eyes, just take a moment and see what you think your definition of creative expression is at this moment in your life. Okay, excuse me. Okay, I'm going to move on to the 3rd question. Have you ever thought that it was possible to find faith through creative expression? Okay, now I'm going to start by telling you my story. And I will tell you that the first 3/4 of my life, I wouldn't have even thought to put these 2 terms together in the same sentence. So I'm going to start by telling you where I'm from. So I'm getting teary-eyed because my mom and dad are here. I didn't tell anyone about this talk, so I get nervous when people that I know that are part of my life come. I get all emotional, so you might see me cry the whole time, like, don't cry. I'm not going to cry, I'm not going to cry, I'm not going to cry. But you know what? When I cry, it gives you permission to cry too. So if you want to shed some tears in here, just by all means, you are welcome. So I'm going to set the stage for that right now. I was born in Payson, Illinois, and I'm an only child of 2 high school sweethearts. And they're crying too, so I'm just... And even though I come from a small, immediate family, I was part of a large, extended family. Each of my parents have 5 siblings. And so I grew up in Payson, surrounded by family. And that meant that I got to go to a lot of barbecues. I had a lot of birthday parties. And my aunts and uncles and cousins were a part of my daily life. And growing up, I also belonged to the St. Anthony's Catholic Church. I was born into that church. So I grew up in a faith-based community. I went to a lot of funerals, and I danced and did the alligator on the floor of many wedding reception halls when I was young. And so I also went to religion classes. So I learned about the Catholic religion, and I have that benefit of growing up being supported by the community aspect of a faith-based community. When I graduated from high school, I went to college and got a degree in biology, and I wanted to study and become a biologist and study endangered species. So that's what I set out to do. I packed all of my belongings in my car. I got hired by the US government to travel around the country, and for 2.5 years I did wildlife research. And so that's what one of these pictures is of me with the sea turtle. This at the time was the most endangered sea turtle in the world, and I had the privilege of being part of a long-ranging research study to try and save them. It's been a great benefit to look at these studies because sea turtles live a long time, so the results of any kind of research on an animal that lives and outlives humans takes a long time to derive. But luckily, the efforts that I was doing 20 years ago have been beneficial. So I'm really grateful, and that is its own kind of faith in the world, right? Like faith that your efforts, and you have no idea what the results are going to be, and then you see the results years later. That's a different kind of faith than growing up in a faith-based community and learning about what someone's interpretations are of what a God or what a higher power would be. The time came when I had to decide whether I wanted to go back to school for a lot longer and become a wildlife biologist. And at that time, I didn't really want to be doing research my whole life, so I decided to go into health sciences. And I got a master's degree in health sciences. I became an echocardiographer, or a person that does ultrasounds on people. I became proficient in vascular general and heart ultrasound, and worked primarily in hospitals doing heart ultrasound on people. And I love to tell people that I have witnessed over 1 million heartbeats. 1 million individual, human heartbeats. So, and I couldn't find any pictures of myself in scrubs, but what I did find was a lot of pictures of my extracurricular activities at that time, which was really finding my creative voice and doing a lot of really weird things with creative people. And so I did a lot of performance art. I danced on a lot of big stages in Columbia and a lot of theater stages and concert stages. And I also went to festivals and events and did some body painting. So, and I also got painted a lot and performed. So in this other picture that you see, that is me in an event, a Christmas event, getting painted by a professional body painter from Los Angeles that just happened to live in Columbia at the time. So up to this point in my life, what was my definition of faith and creative expression? Well, my definition of faith at this time in my life would have been something that was based on my experience and knowledge from growing up in the Catholic Church as a child. And that would have been combined with my confidence in myself that I could complete new and challenging things, that I had the confidence that I could stand up on a stage and dance, that I could get degrees from universities, that I could go and do scary things. The confidence in myself, that knowing that I could go do hard things, combined with my experience in growing up in a faith-based community, would have been what formulated my definition of faith at the time. My definition of creative expression at this time would have been based in my experiences in art, performance, and the reactions that I had while looking at other people's work. And when I mean other people's work, I mean other people's visual art. I wasn't creating a lot of visual art at the time. I was doing a lot more performance-based art. But when I say performance-based art, what I mean is that I was learning other people's choreographies and other people's way that they wanted my body to move and look, and then I was exercising them on a stage or with other people in a group. And so I was creatively expressing myself, but it wasn't something that was really coming from my belly. And I wouldn't have even understood what that term meant until I was 33. And in 33, my definition of faith and creativity changed. And that was because I got chronically ill, I lost my career, my home, and my health. No one could tell me why, and no one could tell me how to make that pain go away. And by pain, I mean not just emotional or mental pain, really bad physical pain. Being awake and alive was painful. I couldn't leave the house without anti-inflammatories or painkillers, and I couldn't move, really. So I lived my life day by day. And I know that some of you here know what that feels like. That's where I was when I was 33. I was so depressed and I was terrified because I had no idea what the rest of my life looked like, right? I wasn't dying. There was no fatal diagnosis. There was nothing. There was nothing for me to base what was going on with me on. I had no idea what was going on. Nobody could tell me anything. The logical explanations were not there. And so I just really had to reach into myself and find something that gave me joy so that I was wanting to be alive. And being creative helped me feel my faith in this way. So being creative helped me feel hopeful. I wouldn't say that it gave me faith because I was in the belly of darkness and I had no idea what having faith even meant. I was reaching for it. So being creative helped me feel a sense of hope, which eventually led to what I now know of as faith. So how did I do this? How was I creative and feeling my faith by being creative? Well, I began drawing and painting my prayers in a daily journal. My prayers were not extravagant. I did not want to be Jeff Bezos. I did not want to be Frida Kahlo. I did not want to be famous or just, I just wanted simple things. I wanted to have a loving partner. I wanted to have a home. I wanted to have a creative community. I had moved back to Quincy and I missed my creative community that I had. And I had prayers to be able to walk and dance again. So this is what you see is one of my journals, and it's a display of one of me. These dots are prayers and just a drawing that I made that resembles me praying into my journal. Something inside me told me to pray over some seeds, and there was a vacant lot. There was a hotel that burned down next to my home, or apartment at the time. So it was just a lot full of dirt and ash. And something told me to pray over some wildflower seeds about what I wanted, so I literally held the seeds in the palm of my hand and said my prayers into them that were the prayers on the slide that I just showed you. And then on the days that I felt well, I started sprinkling them onto this lot. And I was sprinkling them. What I now know is that it was an exercise in just letting go and letting the universe start to take care of me. I didn't know that at the time. I was just doing it because it felt good, right? And to my joy, I would go down and look at those seeds, and they were sprouting. So that was exciting to see. Another thing I did was I started painting my prayers in archetypal paintings. This is the first painting that I created using the intentional creativity methods. It's a painting that represents Mary Magdalene. Those eggs are my prayer for the life that I wanted, and the sprouts are the sprouts that are sprouting out of that lot. And the dove is my hope that one day I had no idea how I'd ever have these things, but that represented my hope. And then things got a little weird. I started casting body parts with others with the intention to heal. And I don't know why I did this, honestly. This is just a strange idea that a lot of people found very intriguing and wanted to participate in. So I started having casting workshops, and some of you came and were part of those. Some of you gave me gifts that I still have and use in my journals. And so I just kept doing it. How I did this, I have no clue, because I was recovering from hip surgery when I was doing this. So on the days I felt well and could move around, we did this. But what happened out of those workshops was a really big art show. I've never curated an art show before. I had no clue what I was doing with any of this either. But what happened with this show was a creative community came and supported my vision. And it was helping other people support their vision for other things they wanted in their life. So the name of the show was Out of Body Experience. It was in the amazing Lisa Wagoda's space. She photographed the casting process. And after that show, my identity changed. People started calling me an artist. I have done art things. No one has ever introduced me. This is Tricia. She's a really good artist. I really didn't know how to take that, and it took me years to step into that identity. But what I realize now, at that time, exercising my faith through creative expression, which was exactly what I was doing when I was doing all of these things that didn't really make sense, what that was giving me was a way to heal and rebirth myself. And my prayers started to get answered. So it helped me find a new creative community in Quincy. This is a sign that was made in those casting workshops. That word community is made by people's hands. And that foot is my good friend Silvana Purcell's foot. She casted her foot and made that piece of art. The piece of paper the piece of cloth underneath that sign was made by people in the Unity Church during a group collaborative project, and this was in the window of Lisa Wagoda's space. The second thing that happened was in 2017, I married an amazing man, and the women who are in that casting show held the container for my marriage ceremony. So that's what my creative community helped me do. It helped me create an amazing wedding, along with my family and friends and with my husband. He was part of it too. And then in 2019, I started a business called Sacred Source Studios, and this was really a container where I could offer these services to other people. I also got more serious about these offerings, and to be able to hold other people in these deep creative processes that were very healing, I got certified as an intentional creativity teacher and coach. And ever since 2019, I've been offering these services to people. I offer archetypal painting classes for people. This is a class where people painted their inner muse. I've also made prayer flags for community protests. So this is my good friend Sutu. She's the one that has the pink and blue hair. Her neighborhood had a nature sanctuary that generations of people had raised their children going to this place in nature. And the city of Columbia tore down a lot of the trees in this sanctuary to build a bike trail. And in protest for that, to say prayers for the space, we made and hung prayer flags in the sanctuary. Sutu sat in a tree for 3 weeks in protest of the trees getting cut down. Unfortunately, the trees did get cut down, but there is so many rich and amazing things that are coming out of the rebirth of that land right now. She got ownership of the land, and they are stewarding it and facilitating it, and it is taking on a life of its own. It's really amazing to see that, and I feel really fortunate to have just been there at the very beginning and provide a space for people to pray into. I've also done some really meaningful art commissions. This man approached me and said, "I'm dying, and I want you to make a painting that will hang at my funeral." And so I said, "Okay." And he said, "I want you to come to my house. I have these things that I want in this painting." And so I went to his house, and he gave me some very specific things that he wanted. And I just feel really grateful to have been able to make this for him. His daughter said she didn't feel like she had to do much more but hang the painting at the funeral. And that, to me, was a ginormous win for everyone. This man is still alive. And he's still about, and we communicate regularly. But this is just an example of some of the meaningful art commissions that I've gotten to do for other people. So my prayer of just having a creative community really was, it just really came true. In 2020, we built a new home that has a teaching center in the basement of the home. My husband is a glass blower. He has a glass blowing studio in the basement as well. So I feel really fortunate that my prayers for a new home came true, and they're even better than I could have imagined. And then in 2021, I got my mobility back. And now I not only got my mobility back, but now I'm actually teaching ecstatic dance classes and full moon rituals. I'm teaching other people how to move their bodies. So I'm so grateful to be in a moving, healthy body. And I had no idea that I would ever be where I am right now today. So what has finding faith through creative expression taught me? It's taught me that faith is personal. Everyone has their own definition of what faith is, and it's really personal, and it's going to change throughout your life. And it's meant to be kept sacred. This definition of faith needs to be valued and kept sacred by you. I've learned that your faith will deepen into a felt sense in your body when you experience changes that are uncertain and defy logic. So my illness was that for me. That was my call to deepen my faith. And really, faith deepened it for me. I feel like I just had to be trusting and act on what it was wanting me to do, because there was something deeper that inside of me that was wanting to be revealed and wanting to be expressed. I just had to get out of the way, and I had to let it. And I had to really be honest with myself about what I wanted and needed in order for that to happen. The third thing that I've learned is that your faith will show you how it wishes to be creatively expressed. This is not a logical process. This is something that you feel in your belly, and oftentimes it doesn't make any sense. But it's a yearning. It's not even something that you think is a good idea. It's not something that you can sit down and plan out, and that comes later. That comes after this yearning. You decide and you commit to really follow it. Then that's when the planning of how and when you're going to make time for it happens. But that's what I found out about my faith, that it shows me what it wants. I actually want to go back to and say that usually the way that it wants to be creatively expressed is by doing some offhanded thing, like wearing a weird hat to the grocery store. Offhanded and not seemingly grandiose, but just kind of weird. The fourth thing that I've learned is that your faith needs a home. It needs a place where it can be expressed often, even daily, through simple acts of love for yourself and for others. And I really believe that that simple act of love has to come, and you have to do it for yourself first before you can do it for others. And that home can be in a community, but first I feel like it needs to be in your body. And it needs to be, my home is in my journals. I go to my journals, and that's what guides me through life. It's not so much in my paintings, and it's not so much in my teachings. The home for my faith, for me, lives within me, but it's expressed through my hands in my journals. So it's important that you find out where your faith is living within you, and where it wants to be lived in the privacy of your own home, and where it wants to live out in the world. The fifth thing that I've learned is that faith is strengthened through community. Finding a community of like-minded souls, being in a spiritual community is this. This is a perfect opportunity for you to come and strengthen your faith every single week. Sharing your presence, just your presence. You don't have to do anything grandiose, but just being in the presence of another person is healing for them. And it will give them faith as well. So you might be thinking, well, Tricia, this is all great, but I draw stick figures. I mean, how do I even start doing this? My advice to you is to start finding faith through creative expression by doing the offhanded thing that makes you joyful and happy. And I do promise that a whole new world will open up for you. And I love that the story that came before me was about baking cakes, because sometimes that is your creative expression. That is a small act of love that brings you self-joy, the act of baking the cake, putting all the ingredients together, putting intention into every ingredient and filling it with love is healing for you, and it's healing for everyone who eats that cake. So it can take a variety of different forms. It doesn't have to do with fine art. It has to do with what's wanting to come through you and what comes through you most naturally. And I do promise that when you just step into this, a whole new world will open up for you. So in conclusion, have faith and know that sometimes the darkest times in your life are really faith's way of deepening your understanding of who you truly are, and it's giving you, giving you what you need to become the highest expression of who you are in this life. And I want to read a quote. Let's see. I want to end by reading a quote that my dear friend sent to me last night. It's a quote by Eckhart Tolle, and it says, "Joy does not come from what you do. It flows into what you do, and thus into this world from deep within you." Thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Tricia Dietrich, and my message to you is to just have faith and keep creating. Thank you.